Sometimes, when you're watching a TV series or a movie, you can kind of find it hard to decipher or figure out what the theme is for the show, or what they're trying to say. Like, what are they trying to get to? Especially with a sci-fi show, the premise can be so big, the high concept ideas can be so otherworldly, it can be hard to kind of bring them down to kind of a human kind of experience and like a central idea, and you can sit there kind of wondering and discussing with friends, like, what is this show trying to say, and what is it really trying to do with this series? Not the case with Raised by Wolves. Even though there is absolute madness and crazy sci-fi things happening all over the place, this show's themes, or its two themes, are so strong and so well utilized and thought out and thought-provoking and just really interesting, and they're so cleverly kind of mixed together and thoroughly kind of examined through every single character in every single kind of possible way due to how the show is set up. And they are parenting, whether it be the child or the parent, and then faith, whether that be religious or not. And these two ideas and the way they're blended together and mixed together in this series about robots on a distant faraway planet trying to raise a bunch of little kids, and then maybe some other people are in there. It's super fascinating, super enjoyable. It is just such a fascinating, interesting kind of way to look at this kind of, these two really big, prominent kind of things that are just so human. And the first thing I found really, really exciting and kind of different and interesting with the way they were handling just the idea of parenting and family and all of that stuff is that all of our main parents aren't biological parents. They've all got different reasons to kind of being adoptive parents or, surrogate parents. And I found that really, really interesting, especially the ways they chose to do it. Like one of our main characters, Ragnar Lothbrok from Vikings, once again with stunning hair. He just looks so good with some ridiculous hair, big mullet, shaved sides, just, oh God, he looks so good in this. You can't really find anyone better to stand on top of a big rock and scream things about being the king of kings and religious things and just screaming about religion and faith and being the king of armies or the king of a few people on a planet. They've perfectly cast him. It really feels like he knows how to kind of do that role. There was so much of that in Vikings as Ragnar, with just the crazy hair, the big speeches, the kind of crazy rhetoric he would kind of spurt out at times. Just spectacular. He's so good in this. But him as a parent, it's not just like, oh, he's an adoptive parent. It's like, no. He shot this kid's father in the chest and murdered him, took his face, like an atheist in this big atheist religious war, took this guy's face, became religious or pretended to, then realized the person he killed had a son, and then over 13 years in the spaceship kind of learns to love and care for this son. Crazy adoptive family situation. Absolutely love it. And the androids are kind of similar but different, where they have all these kids, but they didn't birth them. They're not biologically attached to them. But that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter when you're a parent. And I found this such an amazing, engaging, interesting kind of different way to kind of handle this really strong theme. It is so prevalent throughout the entire series. It's like, I could almost imagine someone finding it almost too like battering over the head. Like there's no subtlety in these two big themes. There are people just screaming about parenting and religion the whole time. But I found it super engaging and super fun. And Raised by Wolves is just such a clever title. It kind of thought-provokingly made me think of like, I don't know, are these androids going to be savage or something like that? But it's like, no, it's because all the parents are adoptive parents. It's like this child has run out into the woods and the wolf pack is taking care of him. Like a separate pack, a separate kind of family, like with different kind of ideals and stuff, trying to teach and morph like this child into what they want to be. So we have these atheist androids, and I love the fact that the atheist android, when she turns evil, she's just like someone on a cross flying about, just shooting lasers and killing everything. The idea that mother and father have been kind of twisted and changed by their founder to be very, very different. So everyone sees mother as this weapon of mass destruction that she was back on Earth, but now she's a caring mother. Just spectacular. So many times we get like kind of androids in shows and it's like, are they human? What is it to be human if they're made of, computer bits or whatever? But in this series, having it so focused on like that parental side of it, it's just kind of an interesting different spin. And I think it's really, really well done. And it's kind of very simple in the fact it's like mother, father, and they both have different roles and the way they kind of care for each other. And I kind of like that mother, it's more kind of like a lion's pack, where the mother is kind of more ferocious and more vicious. When she gets her special magical eyeballs in, she turns crazy and evil and stuff. And I like that kind of twist on that, and having father kind of being his jokes incredible, so bad. I love the idea. They're like, oh, how do we kind of humanize Father a bit? Let's give him dad jokes. Let's give him dad jokes. The performances by Mother and Father are spectacular. There is such an otherworldly kind of robotic style to their performance. But it kind of does feel like that, bit of humanness is leaking through them. But like the dialogue, like the way it's worded, the way they speak, feels really, really clever. The way it's kind of like very robotic and unhuman, but parts of that human kind of experience is kind of seeping into them. And I'm really, really enjoying that. And then to parallel the adoptive parents, we do have one to-be mother in Tempest, and she is pregnant due to an unwanted baby, which she's constantly like kind of hating on due to the fact she had it via rape when she was asleep. So really kind of horrible and twisted, but I kind of like the idea that, hopefully she's going to learn to love this kid that she never wanted, which is kind of the opposite of adopting a kid. And so, I don't know, I just find all the ways they're kind of handling all of this, it's really, really kind of interesting, and the cast is all doing a really, really good job. We have a bunch of kids, and like Tempest, she's great. A lot of the other kids, they're great. Like the older ones, they're good, but Campion and Paul are exceptional. And they're like two of the youngest ones. They are given the best material and the most interesting stuff. Like Paul starting to get voices from Sol and stuff. Like when he's pointing to his mother when he realizes it's not his mother at the end of the season. Just like him screaming about her being like a demon atheist. Terrifying, amazing performance. Getting a little bit of Ragnar from him as well, even though he's not his son. I kind of see that father kind of thing. I don't like the way they're hopefully going to kind of team up and be psycho soul worshippers. But Campion, the best part of the show. His performance is amazing. I love how much heart he has. I love how much empathy and compassion. But then as the season progresses, he needs to kind of have that warrior skill and him learning to like do the slingshots and stuff. And how that progresses, I found really, really interesting. Like at first he's like, I'm a vegetarian. I don't want to kill. If I have to kill, I'm not going to kill. I'm going to eat all this stuff. But then it slowly changes into being like that self-survival. And his father says towards the end of the season, I thought your empathy might be the death of you, but you've turned into a great warrior, my son. And I found that a really great moment because Campion's so like kind of proud of himself, happy that father kind of acknowledges that. But it's also kind of like he does still have that empathy and heart that makes him such a charismatic and interesting character. And he's so young at this point. I am a little afraid that in season 2, as soon as I start, he's going to have aged up a bunch and we won't have that kind of, that really great charm and amazing kind of feeling you get when you cast such a great actor who's just so young. Like, he looks so young. But I'm really excited that final last bit of him kind of clearly going to be the leader of the new group now that Mother and Father have disappeared to the tropical zone. And so towards the back end of the season, Mother starts communicating with Founder due to sci-fi, techno, babble, whatever the hell, going into her past and all that stuff. And then she has like virtual sex or whatever with him. And then she gets pregnant. And it's kind of like, okay, we're getting another biological parent. And the first birth, because it seems to be speeding up very quickly, is going to be the android, which is super fascinating and interesting. And the way she's like, actually, this whole thing, Founder, the kids, they were just like a test run. This baby, this is what it's going to be all about. And I'm like, oh my God, this little android baby is going to be crazy. But it was so much crazier. Her birthing scene where the baby just like, whoom, disappears. I'm like, oh my God, was it all illusion, a dream? Like, robot trickery? Like, what's going on? Is this Sol, who I don't think will be Sol? I'm kind of imagining it's going to be some kind of like telekinesis wizard man or something who's speaking to everyone, and that's something he's gained the power of on this planet. But who knows? Maybe Sol does exist. But when her chest goes in and she's contorting and she's doing all that amazing physical movements as she's birthing, and then milk starts spitting out of her mouth, and I thought, oh my God, I thought she was the main character. Is she going to die right now? Like, what's going to happen? And I almost thought maybe a baby would birth out and kind of, she'd be ripped apart by it. Because who knows how an android's birth is going to work? It's not going to be like a human birth, presumably. But no, it turns out that the setup with all those giant skeleton snake bones all over the place, which looked spectacular and was such a great tease in the first episode, where I'm like, oh, I want to see the giant basilisk snakes. Show me the monsters. Well, I don't want to see the monsters like that, being birthed out of Mother's mouth. Oh my God, it was so intense and disturbing the way it slimed out this big snake, and it's flying. I never thought the big basilisk snake things on the ground, all the bones, would be flying snakes. That's crazy. Why do they fly? They don't even have wings. I love that they don't have wings or anything. They're just floating through the air like, oh, just so scary and spooky the way it moves around. And then that final stinger when they smash and they go through the planet, and I kept being like, well, they can't die. Surely they can't die. I hope they just pop out the other side. They go through the fire and survive, so I'm curious as to why that is. I guess the ship's just fireproof or whatever, and it shoots out the other side, and then we get that big snake, and he's already grown really big, which is really exciting, because I feel like halfway through the season I went, oh, maybe the bones are just there to imply that there has been life on the planet. So I guess maybe we're not going to see any giant big snakes. No basilisks for me, which is disappointing. But now they've happened, I'm like, I never would have guessed that it was Mother who birthed them. So I'm super excited to find out who the hell got her pregnant. Why did they get her pregnant? Were they the guys who drew the carvings on the wall? I guess there's going to be a lot more humans on this planet, because I guess we find out those monsters are devolved humans, which is really disturbing. And I was curious why they kind of look like dogs, but with morphed human faces. And now we get that reveal that that's kind of like the most devolved the humans have got on this planet, which was a really disturbing reveal to find out that the humans here have slowly devolved. I really didn't see that coming, even though it seems so obvious in hindsight. But yeah, amazing setup for the first season, amazing ideas and themes, and just so thought-provoking and like interesting. And like after an episode, I'd be sitting there just thinking about it. The way like a character will be super atheist, but then due to crazy religious things, will turn and become a zealot, a crazy religious zealot who's screaming and ranting and running about thinking about just, crazy religious things, thinking they're being spoken to by a god of some kind called Soul. I really love that Soul isn't like, he's not called God, or we're not talking about any human religions. So it makes it very easy for anybody of any religion or of no religion to kind of step into this series and just think and see about the themes and ideas they're talking about without kind of getting annoyed that they're dealing with a religion they don't believe in or a religion they do believe in. And so it makes it really clean cut to have this sci-fi premise be open for everyone, which I really, really liked. And the sets and the locations and just all the cinematography, gorgeous, incredible. So many amazing shots. The little town encampment that they have, that's kind of the main location for the season, spectacular, looks incredible. Such a great visual, just such a, I don't know, obviously they've got a lot of money, but it feels like they've put the money to good use. Like everything looks so good. Mother turning crazy gold, evil laser beam killing everyone, explosions of blood and everything. Truly terrifying. They kind of, there's not much of that in the back half of the season, but that first reveal where she goes all gold and goes, absolute evil Terminator kind of style golden warrior. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. The name Necromancer as well. Really, really scary stuff. I kind of imagine we're going to see a lot more of that in season 2. I love the design of the necromancy kind of transformation morphing. Like, I love the idea that they're not just like, oh, when she turns all evil weapon of mass destruction, she gets red eyes. Or, something kind of more kind of cheap and lazy. Easier for sure. But I love the fact that like, no, let's go all out. She goes full gold, her face changes, her whole demeanor changes. And instead of kind of having like, I don't know, a certain superpower that we've seen a lot, she gets this kind of sonic boom, kind of siren, kind of voice of destruction, which is kind of really unique and different. I mean, I was going to say compared to kind of like a superhero kind of thing, but there are lots of superheroes that have a voice power where they go, rah, and it's like, psh, and shatters them. But I don't know, it felt kind of unique and different the way they're doing it, the way they're presenting it. It's just so overpowered, it's so terrifying. The actual siren screech is kind of this high-pitched sound that's really unnerving, and you kind of hear it from a distance, and the way she kind of comes in like some kind of, aeroplane ready to shoot missiles down. It was really interesting and different. I just love that whole kind of decision to make it feel and look like that. And it's just really, really kind of fascinating and interesting and kind of scary at times. Like it really doesn't kind of shy away from kind of the dangers of religion, but also the power of religion. And like Campion's such a great example of that. Like at one point they take all the stones from the dead people and just build like a little temple thing, and Campion won't bow to it. He won't have any of this. But also he has his own kind of faith. Even though he's kind of been raised up as an atheist, he has his own faith that's kind of outside religion and more of just about kind of the faith of people and the faith of life itself. And I found that really, really exciting and interesting. And I just think the way this show is handling everything is so good, because we have these big sci-fi premise, we have these glorious, amazing vistas, a beautiful looking sci-fi show on a planet. We've got robots and androids and big action set pieces sometimes and just all this stuff. But there's so many really like basic, pure kind of human things about parenting and faith and religion, and all of that is kind of at the heart of this show. And I think it's a very successful first season. At times it is bonkers and crazy, but a lot of the time it's just so real and human, and I'm quite kind of surprised by how effective this show has been. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below. I'd love to know what people think about the first season of Raised by Wolves.